Hello, it's Amber from LoveFit and I'm back with week 27 of my Healthy Happy Pregnancy video series, and yeah, I'm officially in third trimester now, so I thought it was about time we started talking about some of the niggles you might get during pregnancy now that we're in that final stage of the pregnancy. I wanted to discuss some lovely releases you can do that are going to help keep you moving freely, get rid of those aches and pains, and also a great idea either to do in isolation or to do before a workout to free the body and make sure you're moving properly when you do work out. So one thing that you might have heard a lot of, which is maybe a bit misguided, is that you should not stretch during pregnancy. So you'll hear that people say you shouldn't stretch when you're pregnant because of the relaxin coursing through your body, and that if you do lots of stretching, you're going to overstretch because your body's more supple anyway than it should be. And of course, there's an element of truth in this, as with all these slight old wives' tales that go around. There is an element of truth. Yes, you have a lot of relaxin in your body, so you don't want to overstretch. You know, lying on the floor, pulling your leg up and holding it for a minute to try and increase flexibility is completely pointless and potentially damaging during pregnancy because you're likely to be less stable. However, to say that you shouldn't stretch at all is pretty bad advice, and you know, one thing you really need when you're pregnant is to release all these tight muscles. You know, I've spoken in some of the earlier videos about upper cross syndrome, about lower cross syndrome, or whether you're sitting like this, you know, and obviously my bump is now increasing in size as well, you can see, but you know, people get tight here, they get tension in their quads because we tend to have all our weight shifted forward, so you get a lot of front foot stance where all the weight is on the balls of your feet. You get rounded through the chest through increased size and hunching here. So, you know, you, of course, who wouldn't want to stretch that off? You should stretch it because otherwise this is where all the aches and pains of pregnancy come from. So yeah, I'm going to show you today some lovely releases that you can do. I have a huge repertoire of probably 30 or 40 of these that I use with my clients. Some of them are ones that require me to help and assist my clients. So just for today, I'm going to show you the ones that you can do on yourself, that you don't need anybody else. And obviously I'm only going to show you a highlight. I think I've got maybe, just checking my little list here, maybe sort of 8 or 9 different releases. And these are some of the ones that I've been doing on myself. These are my favourites and the ones that I find most useful. So I hope you do too. So to start with, you might find this a little bit strange, but actually what I want you to look at first is all of this area around the face and into the neck. So your masseter, this whole jaw area, is often a great area of tension. And actually, if you're all locked up in your face, that creates tension throughout your whole body. It creates unhealthy tension in your pelvic floor. It means you don't relax properly. And there's actually a relation with this tension here and down in your hamstrings. So what I want you to do first, I'll come a bit closer to the camera, is to push your fingers where you can feel your jawbone here and your cheekbone. Push up, and as you push up, you're going to drop your jawline down and you'll get a lovely stretch. So just watch me. This is not a very attractive look, I'm afraid. Okay, so I'll show you a bit from the side. Come here, push up, and then stretching down. So do that a few times. With all of these releases I'm showing you, there's no set amount you should do. People often say, how many times should I do that? How long should I do it for? You don't need to worry about your breathing during this. You don't need to worry about how long. It's all about just what feels good and what frees and releases the tension. Okay, so a few more for the face. So we've done this jaw one. Now we're going to look at the neck. A lot of people sit with this forward head position. So I want to kind of stretch out some of these muscles here, get rid of some of the tension in the front of the neck. What you're going to do for me now is where your clavicle, your collarbone is, you are going to drop your chin down. This shortens the muscle. You're going to put your fingers just where the collarbone is and press down underneath quite firmly. And then holding the fingers down, you're going to slowly lift up your chin until you feel a really good stretch down the front of the neck. Okay, so do that again. I drop my head down, I trap the muscle here just under the collarbone, just so you can see, and then lifting up. And you can also do similar for the side of the neck. So if I turn my head that way, I pin under the collarbone on that side, and then holding it down, turn my head in the opposite direction, and that causes a stretch all down here. And obviously you can do that on both sides. So there's a few that kind of free up the neck first of all. Now, moving on to some of the ones that you'll really start to feel how much you've got the tension there. I've spoken about tension across here in the pecs and the front of the upper body. So I'm going to show you a lovely stretch that you can do. You need to stand next to a wall, and you want to place one hand on the wall behind you. We're going to do this all different heights, so it doesn't matter what height you start at, but you want to be at least a foot away from the wall. And with the foot closest to the wall, you're going to step forwards and into the wall, and just, oh, that feels so good. You're going to feel a stretch all across the pecs and the front of the chest. So you can do that a few times here, and then I'm just going to move my hand, and oh yeah, that gets me in a slightly different area. So I'm stepping in towards the wall with that nearest foot, and then I can do it down a bit lower, reach and stretch, and that feels absolutely lovely, okay? And again, with all of these, you would want to do that on both sides, so you would then do the same on this side. Next up, what did I want to do? Oh yeah, some band revolutions. So I think I showed you these in one of my very first videos about preventing upper cross syndrome, but just a quick recap. You want to hold a band fairly loosely, and then you're going to take it up and back as far as you can. Just up and back here. Oh, it feels so nice. And as you can see, it's pretty much a no-brainer. You can feel that that's going to stretch out all of these front muscles, okay? So we have covered already the face, the neck, the pecs. This is helping mobilise the shoulders. What you can also do is a complete rollover. I'm going to slightly, you probably can't see this actually on the video, but I'm slightly turning in my front foot here. I'm in a split stance, and I'm going to reach down towards the floor and pull back. And again, as you will see, this is going to give me that lovely chest stretch. And also I'm getting a nice stretch through my calf and Achilles as I rock back. So you'll see my back foot rocks back there. That stretches out the calf and the Achilles. And we want to do this on both legs. Again, I'm slightly inverting my front foot, but you can also go off that straight line. So you don't just have to go forwards and back. You can go down to one side and reach up. You can go down to the other side and reach up. And then a few more straightforward ones, but that's just going to open everything up. And I promise you, if you try that, there's no way you're not going to feel really good doing all of that. Okay, next on my list, still working the front of the body, but now we're working not only through the chest, but also through the abdominal wall and down into the front of the hips. So I'm going to get you to come into a split stance, back heel off the floor, and you're going to do, it's like a little lunge, but you're actually going to push your hips under you as you lunge. So rather than dropping straight to the floor, think of driving the knees forwards and bringing your pelvis under you. And at the same time, you're going to reach up with the hands. And I want you to invert the palms, so your palms are facing the ceiling. And that just adds an extra dimension to the stretch. And you can do this really slowly, there's no rush. And as I do that, I'm feeling a stretch all down the front of my hip, gently across the abs, and as I say, palms up, just opens me up more than if I have my hands like so. Okay, and as always, we want to do both sides. So I get balanced, I rock down, and again, slow this right up if that feels good. Just hold it there for a second. Okay, so lots of lovely ones for the front of the body there. Now, what next? Ah yes, I wanted to look, that obviously is opening the front of the hips, but we mustn't neglect the side of the hips too. It's really common to get tension in your TFL, which is the muscle that runs down the side of the body here, connecting in from your pelvis, right down low below the knee. Lots of people get tension there, so we want to try and free up the hips side to side. And as well as some of the just basic mobility that I've shown you in the past with hip circles, we can also do a lovely little dynamic stretch. So I'm going to stand, again, you might just be able to see, with my rear foot slightly turned in, I'm going to cross my hands on my chest and I'm simply going to rock my torso from side to side. And as I do that, I'm getting a little stretch down the side of my body, but also I'm getting a stretch into my hips. So as I stretch across here, that really, I can feel that there because of my foot being inverted. And I would change legs and do the same thing a few times. Then you can also change it and turn the foot out, so that rear foot is now everted, and that's going to stretch my adductors, so my inner thigh muscles. So there, just there, that's a lovely stretch on the inner thigh because that foot's turned out. So play around with all of these, do what feels good. But that to me feels really lovely, really starts to stretch things out. Then, still moving side to side, so now we're working on the kind of lateral part of the body. I'm going to show you an exercise that frees up your lats, these lovely big muscles that run across the back here. So I'm going to turn my back to you in a second, but you're going to put your hand against a wall, and then with the free arm, you're going to reach up and over as if you're waving. So just letting that top arm flop. By having this hand against the wall, we keep the other shoulder nice and stable. So let me just make sure I'm in good view there. So this hand is going to be on the wall, chest height, and then I am going to reach up and flop the arm over like I'm waving. And the stretch I get is just there, all down the side of the body. Feels absolutely lovely. Same thing on the other side. Other hand is now on the wall, and I'm going to reach across, waving. Feels absolutely great. So all the front of my body is now feeling released. The sides of my body, including my hips and some of my inner and outer thighs, have been released. And now, just want to show you last couple. We're going to have a look at upper back and yeah, general back of the body. So for upper back, I'm going to show you a thing here where you have your palms facing each other directly in front of the chest, and simply you're going to reach one arm forward, sliding the hands past each other, trying to get movement between the shoulder blades. Okay, so if I show you that sideways, I'm going to slide like so. Okay, it's really simple, but again, if you try this, I promise you, you'll be saying, oh, that feels lovely. And just so you can see what's happening with my back, doing these, shoulder blades moving back and forth, that just frees up your rhomboids, these muscles in here. Okay, and then one of my favourites, a lovely release for the whole back line. So this is going to stretch down my lats, cross my glutes, into my hamstring and calves. And again, I'm going to stand with my feet slightly inverted, so you can just see my toes slightly pigeon-toed. This is going to really stretch my hamstrings. Lots of people get tension in the back of their legs. But you're going to stand here and you are going to reach forwards, turn your palms up, because again you get a greater stretch on your lats, and push the hips back. So I'm sitting back into it, and I'll show you this from the side as well. So standing here, my feet are slightly inverted to pre-stretch the hamstrings, and then I release. So, like so, turning my palms up to just increase the stretch. Okay, and that feels lovely. Just at this point here, I'm sitting back, it's just like a deadlift move, but I can feel all of this stretching all down my upper back, and then I release and stand up. Okay, so there's a bunch of lovely mobility releases that you can do by yourself. Rewatch the video as many times as you need. As I say, I've said many times, these simple bands are really useful, but otherwise just all your different body parts are going to help. So, you know, just work with your own body, do what feels right, do what feels good. Just go with it, and hopefully it will make you feel much better. And do this before a workout or just in isolation to make you feel good before you start your day. Okay, thanks so much for watching. I hope you feel lovely and free after this. Okay, see you next time. Bye.